Hey, hey, Facebook family, give us 2 minutes. We'll be starting, but thanks for joining. Doc, please mute your phone.
I thought I had done that already.
Every week.
Okay, see now.
So now I need to
All right, so we're gonna go here.
go.
Mic is muted, and we're gonna start broadcasting. So we need to start within seconds because I want to put this in power hours.
Okay.
So we're broadcasting.
We live on our show, on our page.
All right, I'm ready
Hold
when
on.
you are.
Let me share.
That's what it is.
All right, it's been on there for a minute. 30 seconds. All right. It's been a minute.
It's fine. Yeah, 2 o'clock. Okay.
But they're gonna be looking at that screen for a minute.
I'm about to do 1 second.
Hi, Facebook Live. Give us 1 second.
All right.
All right, we're ready.
We're ready.
All right, 5. Mic is going live now.
Welcome to another edition of the Empower Hour. I am your host, Alqamar,
And I am Hanifah.
and we are here with a special studio guest today, Brother Edward X. And we're here on Wednesday, as we always do each and every Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we bring to you impactful topics of discussion that affect our everyday lives. So today will be no different. And we're going to do what we always do each and every week. We're going to jump right into the discussion, and then we're going to come back midway into the programming and share with you guys some exciting things we have upcoming here at Everlasting Life Restaurant and Lounge. Brother Edward X, thank you so much for joining us again today. This is your 3rd time on the program, correct?
Second.
Second? Third. Was it be third? Okay. And you know what I find interesting is that the programs that we've had you on, well, it will be the second on the Empower Hour,
yeah,
and you
that's
were
what I
on
was thinking,
before
yeah.
with the previous program I used to do.
Okay.
That's what it was. But my point is, those 2 programs you were on gave us the highest ratings out of all the other programs. What's that about? What you think?
Allahu Akbar.
Our discussion today is on the Black history that's never taught to us in school. And of course, this is Black History Month.
The ending of.
The ending of. And so we figured we'd finish it up with a bang. And Hanifah and I had decided to do this program because we realized that a lot of times when the discussions around Black history come up, most people only center the discussion around those individuals here in America, those great and glorious and wonderful warriors that all of us know a lot about, the Malcolm X's, the Martin Luther Kings, the Ida B. Wells, and the Rosa Parks, and the Harriet Tubman. Yeah, well,
Malcolm X.
Right. But our history is so vast, and it covers so much ground. And I think that we do ourselves an injustice with just staying, compartmentalized here in this country. So we wanted to share, Brother Edward X. We couldn't have found a better person to come and share with us some historical facts. This brother here, he he was instrumental in me gaining a lot of my understanding as it pertains to history. A lot. When I was searching and believe it or not, I was in a point in my life where I was just initially coming into what some people consider consciousness. And I was lost. I was lost by how much I did not know about myself. And that disturbed me. So I went on a wild goose chase, trying to find all the information I could put my hands on as it relates to black people. And specifically us. And I stumbled across Brother Edwards' Black History class. You no longer teach that one, though. Black Studies in Deanwood. I can't even remember how I found it, but again, I was just searching. And I entered his class, and I learned so much. Good God, it's so much that I learned from this brother. Still learning from this brother.
Teaching?
Well, it evolved. It's on TV now, DCTV.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yes.
We just won the Viewer's Choice Award.
Oh, wow, cool. Okay.
So say that again loud so people can hear it.
Yeah, we just won the Viewer's Choice Award, or the Voice of the Community. The Black Studies class is on DCTV.
Yeah.
And so you can go to DCTV and find out the schedule. I don't know the schedule off the top of my head.
Okay, beautiful. Well, again, as you can see, this brother, he has a lot. He speaks 7 different languages, and that's growing. Yeah. And how many fluently?
I can read and write 7 languages. The languages that I know are mostly dead languages, so they aren't spoken today.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Such as?
Quranic Arabic, Biblical Hebrew, Meta.
These are the ones you read and write.
Right.
Okay. And so we wanted him to come and share with us some of his knowledge about Black history that's not taught in schools.
Yes. Where do we start?
Where do we start? So much. It's so much. And family, as always, if you want to join the conversation, type it in. Hanifah's taking notes from taking you guys notes and comments and questions.
Yes.
And so we will definitely want to get them on air. So share.
So let's talk about why this talking about Black heroes outside, beyond the United States of America. Why is that important? Why do you think that that's important?
Okay, first of all, allow me to open up in the name of our Creator, because we are, as a spiritual people, we were taught that we should begin and end everything in the name of our Creator and in the name of our ancestors, because we know that if we are anything, it is because we stand upon the shoulders of those that preceded us in this world.
Yes, sir.
So I'd like to open up so now you can ask your question again.
Oh, okay. No, I was saying why why is it so important for us as a people to know history? I would say globally, outside of America. I know usually whenever this time of the month come around, we have specific names that that a lot of people focus on as far as their children, and those are the same names that we go over just about every February.
Right.
So why isn't that? And there's a lot just in American history itself. Why is that not enough?
Because we are a global people, and what we learn is for Black History Month is basically the history of the accomplishment of slaves. What is called, or what is relegated as Black History Month, is the history of people who were taken from Africa, stripped of the knowledge of themselves, and were forced to work under a slave system, and have now come to now we have a black president, or had a black president, or black this or black that. And so these are accomplishments when you look at us coming from a position of the plantation. But if you look at us as a global people, it is not an accomplishment. It's actually falling down.
That's interesting you say you bring that up, because I find myself now knowing a little bit more than I did before about history off these shores. I almost see it as an insult. I find it insulting for me that, we raise and up these voices when we were so much greater. You know what I'm saying? To me, I'm like, why? It's like giving a hungry person a crumb, and they're so grateful for that crumb, not understanding understanding that they could have this whole heap load of piling food if only they could see past this crumb. So for me, when I hear the, you know, first this and first that, first African, Black, American, this and that, for me personally, I find it a bit insulting.
Insulting because, is it just because it's just focused on Americans?
Yeah.
Or once you learn that there's history.
It's so much more. We've done so many great things, and it's like, you know, you're saying you're the first. Well, we're the first one to create a pencil when we were the first people to create time.
Yeah.
The meaning of time.
When they say the first this and the first
yeah,
that. Right? The first
yeah.
black this, first black that. Right.
Right. When we were the ones that created the concept of God and time and the constellations, and you know, we're so much bigger than that. That's what I mean. Yeah. But we're gonna jump into some of the people, some of these great people that aren't doesn't flow off the tongues as readily as some others. Like somebody, who do you? What person comes to mind for you? Who's one of your favorites?
Osagyefo and Kwame Nkrumah.
Kwame Nkrumah
from Ghana. Ghana gained its independence in 1957 from British colonialism, and Kwame Nkrumah called for the United States of Africa, and he had an idea of Africa coming from under colonialism, these nation states organizing themselves in such a way that they come under one umbrella. And of course the CIA organized a coup and overthrew Kwame Nkrumah. And this idea of a United States of Africa was laughed at, you know, because people in Africa coming from under colonialism were saying that Kwame Nkrumah, he's trying to be the pharaoh of the whole Africa and trying to unify whole Africa where it's really self-aggrandizement, where he can be the leader. But that wasn't his case. I mean, that wasn't the case. And he was trying to promote African people that we can compete in a global economy. And so Muammar Gaddafi came and adopted that idea.
That's what I was thinking of when you were saying.
He adopted the idea of United States of Africa. And I want to talk about that before we talk about our history, because this is so important. Because if we see our connection to Africa and our relationship to Africa, we'll know our self-interest. And so, because sometimes when we don't know we don't see a relationship or connection, when Africa come up in the discussion, we don't see our connection or our self-interest. So it kind of go past us and we don't see a connection with it. So I want to just talk about, for a second, our connection with that. When Muammar Gaddafi was talking about, you have 55 nations in Africa, 55 independent, separate nation states in Africa. Africa is a continent. Africa is not a country. Africa is a continent with 55 nation states. Now, the United States of America has 50 states. And if you can just imagine for a minute, all of the police agencies, just in D.C., the District of Columbia, you have the Justice Department, Homeland Security, FBI. You could run the role of the authority agencies that you have in America, the law enforcement agencies. If you could just imagine that, and then you add New York, and add the other 50 states, add the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, add all of these agencies, and then think America, the United States of America, as a nation state can fit within the continent of Africa 3 times. That's my point. 3 times. Whatever you think is bad or good or strong about America, Africa is 3 times the size of America. So Muammar Gaddafi calling for 55 heads of state to no longer look at themselves as individuals, but coming together, unifying, having one military, having one currency, having one language. This overnight will make Africa a superpower. Overnight, because you have all of the natural resources within your borders that you could just trade with within your country. Interstate commerce. It would automatically make Africa a superpower. So you have 800 million people in the continent of Africa. You have another 200 million black people in Brazil. I don't know what's the population in Haiti or Jamaica, but I know we got 30 to 40 million black people in America. So when you start talking about us as black people are global people. You talking about that's a game changer. You talking about Pan-Africanism as an ideology, as a game changer. So I just want to add that in and tie in the connection with Kwame Nkrumah.
Interesting stuff, because if we recognize that we are 90% of the world's population, 9 out of 10 of the world's people that exist currently right now are African people globally.
Right.
However, we're being colonized and controlled and mistreated and oppressed by 10%, well, less, really,
Right.
less than 10% of the population.
Right.
What is that? Well, how does that happen?
Because the black man and the black woman is deaf, dumb, and blind. We've been stripped of our name, our language, our culture, our religion, our history, our folkways, our mores, our norms. And we're in denial. So you have an ignorant Negro who doesn't have any self-knowledge. And if you don't have self-knowledge, you can't know your self-interest. Because you don't have self-knowledge.
Can you repeat that?
If you don't have self-knowledge, you can't know your self-interest. Because your
Makes sense.
self-interest is based upon your self-knowledge. So here you have a population of 30 to 40 million people who have no self-knowledge. We've been stripped of our name, language, culture, religion, history, folkways, mores, norms. That, case in point, proves that you don't know anything about self. And if you don't know anything about self, you can't know your self-interest.
That go to your point. I had recently a brother tell me online one time. He said, "I ain't nobody colonized me." What are you talking about? I ain't colonized. I said, "That's interesting. You say that in English."
That was good.
You know?
That was good.
I mean, how you sit there and say that in English, but say nobody colonized?
You know, one of the interesting things as a black male, as a black man, that I find among black men, we suffer from self-hatred. 30 to 40 million black people in America suffer from self-hatred. And this is a process. They talk about the born again African, or the process of resurrection. It is a process that every day you have to fight against white supremacy. Every day you have to battle against self-hatred in your head and in your mind and in your psyche. And black people, particularly black men, we suffer from self-hatred. And if you press us hard and strong, point for point, he'll admit it. If you press the black man, why you won't stand up for your people? Why you won't stand up for the black woman? Why you won't stand up for black children? Why you won't stand up against police brutality? Why you won't stand up against white supremacy? If you press him hard enough, he'll admit, I don't care nothing about no black people. I don't care nothing, I ain't into that black stuff. He'll say it. And he has to say that. He has to say he's not into it, because if you are into it, how can you justify not standing up? So you got to say, I ain't into it so I can sleep at night.
So if you're not into the black stuff and you're black, then what are you into?
You know what you're into. You're into that white stuff. You know it. You already know what you're into.
Acclamation. Pretty much. One of the things that I just thought about when you mentioned the United Africa, start with Kwame Nkrumah, then we talk about Gaddafi. Shaka Zulu comes to mind when he was able to get all the tribes of South Africa to fight against European colonialism, you know, in the nation, pretty much.
Right.
So what I thought about when you mentioned that is like us even trying to get together on a smaller scale first, because I would consider that a smaller scale, right? Because that's not outside of his nation, outside of the country,
Right.
Outside of the continent. We're talking about just the Zulus,
Right.
and then gathering other tribes. Because truth be told, there is tribal war amongst tribes in Africa. Always have been, it's always existed. But
Well, I don't
the
agree
fact
with
that,
you on that.
okay, the fact that they don't, well, you can speak to that after I'm finished here. The fact that they could still come together says a lot. You know, I think that it has to be done on a smaller scale first, and I feel like we struggle with that sometimes. You know, different backgrounds, different cultural experiences. We focus a lot more on our differences and our similarities, and if it's somehow we can get to the place where we realize that we have one common goal, one common enemy, perhaps that can be a reality for us. But I feel like on a smaller scale, we struggle in that. And again, I think it goes back to knowledge of self. Yeah, but go ahead.
Bring me back to the tribal conflict.
Mm-hmm. I have that wrote down.
Maybe lose my point.
Sorry.
Go ahead and say what you was going to say.
The tribal wars.
Yeah.
You want to discuss that?
Yeah, Steve Biko of Azania.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about the Black consciousness movement, and they asked him about tribal wars in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve Biko said, "What was World War One? What was World War Two? These were tribal wars, European war, but because they're white, you don't say tribal. You say Italian. You say French. You say American. These are white European tribes.
Even civil wars.
Right.
Within the same.
Europe had a 30-year war. Europe had a 100-year war. And see, we got to emphasize that. The Honorable Minister
Are you
Louis
talking about
Farrakhan.
amongst themselves?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that the white man always try to point out the weakness or the flaws of African people and black people, and say, look at this and look at it. No, look at your history. Look at you was living in the caves. You came out of the caves and you was a barbarian. This is your history. There was a time when we were civilized where we can coexist among each other with different tribes and nations that were having harmony and living together.
Okay.
Okay. So, one of my favorite people in history is Mansa Musa, for so many different reasons. Can you share with us a little bit about who he is and what he did?
What makes him so great?
Yes.
What makes him so great to the world or to Alqamar?
Both.
Okay. Mansa Musa changed the economy of Saudi Arabia or Mecca when he came with so much gold. They said he had 12,000 servants, and each servant had 4-pound bar gold.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had 12,000 servants times 4-pound bar. That's amazing. That type of just to pay tribute as a Muslim.
Mm.
Coming from Mali, and he made a pilgrimage to Mecca, and he changed the economy, and he's actually known in history because of the gold, because of that caravan, that trip that he took, and that pilgrimage that he made to Mecca.
And from what I understand, he gave away on the route to Mecca. He gave away so much gold to the people,
Right.
that it upset the whole economy in that area and it was like a year later, and they were still trying to balance the scales again, because he, so I find him to be very generous, as well as bold, as well as a spiritual man.
You know what?
Right.
As a Muslim, and as a student of history, I noticed that the greatest Muslims have always been black. The people who have made Islam the greatest, or played the greatest role in Islam, has always been black people. If you look at the first muezzin, Hadrat Bilal ibn Rahab radiallahu anhu. Bilal, some say he was a slave in Ethiopia and was sold to Arabia, and that's arguable. Dr. Wesley says that's not true. So that's an argument that can be had. But before he met Muhammad, he said it was one God, Ahad, that was one. And when they wanted to call the people to prayer, and they said they wanted to use a ram horn, but the Jews used the ram horn, so they didn't want to do that. Then they wanted to use a bell, but the Christians used a bell, so they didn't want to do that. So one of the companions of Muhammad said that, what about Bilal? He has a good voice. Let Bilal call the people to prayer. And Bilal, as the muezzin, called the people, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. These are Bilal's words that were integrated into the prayer service of Islam. You can't even pray unless you pray in the manner and custom that was taught by the black African Bilal.
Wow.
I just saw the movie with my son.
Wow.
It was awesome.
And this is before the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Well, he was saying before he met Prophet Muhammad, he was saying it was one God, one
Okay.
God. And then when he was free and they called the people to prayer, he just came with Allahu Akbar, and that became an integral part of prayer.
Interesting.
So in that regard, you're following the sunnah of Bilal.
Wow.
One of my favorite ones is Queen Nzinga
Yeah.
of Angola.
I had her on my list too.
I am yet to find someone to paint me the picture, but there's a picture of her when she was sent to represent. She was sent in her brother's stead, and of course she's a woman walking into this meeting, right? And there's no seat for her there, and so she calls for one of her, servants, and they pretty much go on all four and create a seat for her. And the picture of that is so powerful when I see it in art. I'm like, I wish I could find someone to paint this for me. But I like Queen Nzinga because she fought well into like her 60s. She was fierce. She was strategic. She was smart. She was strong. She didn't allow the fact that she was a woman, which wasn't a big deal to our people. That became a big deal way after.
Right.
But she's just a fierce woman, and that's one of my favorite. I say she's an abolitionist, what we call abolitionists, right? Because she was fighting against slavery, pretty much the enslavement of her people. So that's one of my favorite.
And who was she? Now she was a queen of.
She was the monarch of Angola, yes, of the Mbutu people.
Now wasn't it when her husband was the king at first, and he died, and she took the realm? Is that?
Where did you get that from?
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm wrong. What? You tell me.
I don't know. I never heard that.
No.
Now which one? Well, there was one queen.
You got that from Edward's class?
I submit. Right. I think you taught me that.
No, man, I never heard that.
Somebody out there knows who I'm referring to. One of the queens in Africa took her husband's position and ruled after he passed, and did an exceptional job. She went into battle.
Is it of Ethiopia?
What's the name? I can't remember. But see, anyway, that's why I wanted to do this show so much, because I don't know. I don't know at all.
Yeah.
I don't know at all.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's another woman, Nana Ansantewa, as I always say.
Queen Mother, Asante.
Yeah.
And Asante was in 1900 fought against the British about the Golden Stool.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite queens. If I have another daughter, my name is Asante.
Yeah. She kind of stood up because she felt like the men were afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And they had taken their king, exiled him, and so they were coming in, and they actually wanted the golden stool, which was like the Ark of the Covenant for the Ghanaian people, right?
Okay.
And so they're coming in to get this,
And Hanifah.
So she kind of stood up, and she took up arms with the other woman. She's like, if y'all not gonna do this, me and the other woman, we're gonna lead the way in this fight.
And she did.
Fierce.
Wow.
Yeah.
And who's she's queen of what region?
Ghana.
This is Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Ghana.
And he mentioned also the whole monotheism, the belief of one God. Amenhotep, Akhenaten. I like him because this kind of was when I was coming out of the church, because they would have you to believe that that's a Judaic concept, right? But Akhenaten was way before there was even such a thing as the Jewish people. And I think that kind of blew me, and it made me really interested in him. And so in like researching and learning about him, I'm like, this man was like a radical in the sense of, you would say pretty much most of his kingdom was against him. Because you gotta remember, before that there was a belief of, we would say polytheism, right? About like different gods, and he's holding it in and saying, no, there's one. But he stood up, and that was a hard thing to do. Locked himself away, really into like spiritual things. He was probably more of a priest than a king. I'm just reading his history. So that's one of my favorite people, black heroes.
That's Imhotep.
No, not Imhotep.
Akhenaten.
Akhenaten. Okay.
Well, he's Amenhotep the fourth.
Right.
Yeah, the fourth.
Okay.
Amenhotep.
This Amenhotep, right?
Not
Break that
Imhotep.
down.
Not
It's a different name.
Yeah, Imhotep is the genius.
Yeah, that's not the
Yeah,
same person.
yeah, two different. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I'm
You want
sorry.
to speak to that?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
If you have something to say, please.
One
by
of
all
the things
means.
you know, when we talk about Akhenaten, and this is kind of forced down our throat, they say he was like the father of monotheism.
Mm-hmm.
Which the implication is there that if he's the father of monotheism, what did the people believe before he came?
Mm-hmm.
And so Ra'un Nefer in the book Metal Netter challenges that notion. And he says that we've always believed in one. We've always understood that these powers and forces were separate but integrated at the same time.
Got you.
And so, but the European functioning from the left brain, he can't
Right.
understand that. So he when he began to see, he said, they say the sun is God. No, the sun represents God. The sun is not God,
Mm-hmm.
but it is.
Just like the
The sun meaning S-U-N or S-O-N?
S-U-N. See, in the physical universe, the African understood. See, we got to think like black people.
Yeah.
We done went to school and got this Aristotle knowledge, and we start thinking like Greeks and white folk.
Mm-hmm.
We got to think like black people. There's a metaphysical world, and there's a physical world.
Mm-hmm.
And in the African understood that in the metaphysical world, it corresponded to the physical world.
Mm-hmm.
So in the physical world, in the physical universe, in the solar system, we say solar system, solar dealing with the sun as the best representative for the power and force in the universe, because everything revolves around the sun in its solar system.
Mm-hmm.
So what would be the best representative for the power and force of the universe? The sun.
Right.
Because everything gets its color from the sun, everything grows from the sun. It is the sunlight that makes us see color. It is the sunlight that makes us grow. It is the sunlight that makes vegetation grow.
Gives us food.
And some will argue, well, no, vegetation grows from moonlight, but the moon doesn't have light. It is the sun reflecting light on the moon that makes moonlight.
Mm.
So it is always the sun. So the sun becomes the perfect representative in the physical universe for a power and a force. So the people in Kemet said that this was God. And it is, but it's not.
Right.
And so you got to think like an African.
So what force on earth doesn't get its nourishment from the sun?
Nothing.
Oh, nobody burns in the sun.
Oh.
You know what?
You want me to get on the white man. We know he anti-life.
I was going to speak to what you were talking about as far as how we perceive the world and how we understand certain concepts, even the idea of seeing things just black and white. You know, it's either or, not understanding like how the two can be two complementary parts and how it just works together. That's a Eurocentric way of even looking at things as well. That's not us, you know.
Right.
So when you mention the Medinator, only volume 1 I got to. I kind of like, yeah. Yes, volume 1, yeah, volume 1. He kind of touched, he touched on that, but so does Marimba.
Mm-hmm.
She touches on that as well, talking about the left brain versus the right, and just how the European not really understanding our way kind of interpret, and that's kind of how we're regurgitating
Right.
their interpretation of us.
Right.
Pretty much.
Right.
And so because
Right.
what the European says or what the white man says, his reality becomes our reality. So his definition of us becomes our definition of ourselves, which
Right.
is inaccurate.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, I mean, it is very important that we know who we are as a people,
Right.
as black people. And we, you know, as we evolve as human beings on this earth, there's a new phenomenon on earth called racism.
Mm.
And so with racism / white supremacy, we have to address it. And we can't address it with this African notion that has made us lose battle after battle. We all the same.
Mm.
That's the African perspective. We all the same. We all come from one God, and but we're losing with that.
Mm. Is that true?
Generally, but we're not the same with him
Well,
because he's an alien.
That comes from us.
Mm.
The difference comes from them. Like the whole divide as far because based on differences. That's not necessarily as like he was mentioned. Like sorry, Edward, you were mentioning earlier about the whole tribal piece, talking about our people being able to live together and so forth. They had their differences then, but they were still able to. But then you introduce the European into it, then you start to see chaos. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So then you have to think, where does that idea of if we're different, then that means separate. That means that we can't unify. Where does that come from?
Mm.
See, the history Dr. John Henry Clark said that history is a clock that we use to tell our time of day. He said it is a map that we use to find ourselves on it's a compass that we use to find ourselves on the map of human geography. We got to look at history for what it is. Every single time since there's been a man on earth called white man, whether you call him white man, whether you call him European, whether you call him cracker, whatever you want to call him, every time we've had an interaction with him, I'm talking about the black man, the brown man, the red man, the yellow man, what has that interaction been? It has been one of subjugation, it has been one of death, domination, and destruction every time.
Right.
And so, in the art of war, at what point do we become sophisticated as warriors and say, no, I'm not going to embrace him? When the Greeks came to kill him, we should have killed him. When we embraced him and taught him all our information, what did they do? They said that
use it against
they used it against us. They said that they originated it.
But how do we do that? Because now you're talking, now look how far back you're going to when they came and were taught by us, right? But we still see that characteristic in our people today. So how do we switch that part of our nature off? Because it sounds like it's
and this is where the Honorable Elijah Muhammad come in, where he said the white man is the devil. You got this shock. You got to come with that shock therapy. Make black people smack him in the face. Look at this man. Look at this. This is not an emotional statement. Look at his history. Look at his interaction. Look at his interaction with white people. When you leave the white man alone to himself, he'll kill himself. This man had a 30-year war. This man had a 100-year war. That means if you live to be 99 years old, you never knew anything outside of war.
Fascinating.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Well, we were.
You have some other news.
Yeah. Marcus Garvey has. I don't know if it's fair to say he's receiving a comeback, or is that he's always been relevant. It's just that his voice has been a lot stronger here as of late. And I think the Black Panther movie had again put another notch on his warrior strike. With the movie, Marcus Garvey, who is he for those who may have just heard the name but don't know the man behind
the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I still remember the first time I heard his name mentioned. I was in Lawton Reformatory. I was locked up in Lawton, and there was his brother named George X, and he was a revolutionary. And he was always talking about the white man. This when I was a Negro. I didn't know anything. I didn't know nothing. I had waves in my hair and everything back then. And he
conk?
Not a conk. And
Are you curling it?
And the way you got on with the jail stuff.
Yeah. No. Okay. Go ahead.
Anyway, so George X would always talk about the white man every day. He was militant, and one day he was going hard on the tier, talking about the white man, and he had me because I didn't know anything. I was like, wow, he was articulate, he was strong, he knew it sounded like he knew what he was talking about. And then the brother came behind him and said, who you think you is, Marcus Garvey? And I fell out laughing, and it was so funny. Then I got him and said, who is Marcus Garvey? And so I still remember my introduction into the information of who Marcus Garvey was. And so I was like, wow. I was like 19 years old, never heard of Marcus Garvey, never heard of him in school, never heard his name mentioned. And the first time I ever heard his name mentioned, I was in prison.
What do you know about him? What stands out to you more than anything else?
As a Muslim follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as the FOI, the Universal Negro Improvement Association was the first organization among black people that had a military formation. And so when you think about military formation, if you look at the UNIA structure, it's just like the Nation of Islam structure.
What I admire about him is that he was able to organize over 1 million black people in less than 3 years. In less than 3 years, I thought that was just unheard of. But I guess back then, because he was on the scene in the 20s and 30s, correct? So I guess back at that time, people knew who their enemy was.
Not in the 30s, in the 70s, in the 10s, and the 20s.
10s and 20s. Okay, thanks for that correction. And so it was probably easier for people to get people on board. They were probably waiting for a Messiah like him to come up and you know what I'm saying? The people, the masses of the people. And so that fascinated me about Marcus Garvey.
I learned about Marcus Garvey because I was a Rasta fairy. I was into Rastafari from the age of like 13 all the way to my early 20s. And you cannot learn about Haile Selassie without Marcus. It's like they go hand in hand. So I learned about him very, very young.
Yeah.
I was always fascinated with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a powerful brother. Just really wasn't honored in his own country the way he should have been.
That's
but
why he came here to
was
America.
a powerful brother. But yeah, even after he done all his work here, it was still a struggle. The other thing I wanted to ask is when we talk about all of these contributions to civilization, educating the people of the world, pretty much, black people did that. What do you say to people who say, but why aren't we functioning like that today? Where is all of that power that we had, and that genius? And because you have people that answer like where we say there are people who say I don't care nothing about black people. You also have those that say don't tell me about ancient Egypt, don't tell me about Mali Empire. I don't want let's talk about now, here and now. What's wrong with us? So what do you say to those people?
The black man and the black woman in America, and indeed throughout the world, is deaf, dumb, and blind. And unless we accept the reality, like if you're on drugs, they say the first step to getting off drugs is to first admit you're an addict. If you were alcoholic, the first step to getting off becoming an alcoholic is admitting that you're an addict or you're addicted to alcohol. So we have to admit that we don't know. We're functioning from the premise that we do know. When you don't, your condition bears witness that you don't know. Your condition bears witness that what you're doing is not working. And if you're not wise enough to look at your own condition and say, I got to rethink this position because it's not working, then we haven't studied the art of war.
So you're saying people who say that just don't know history, or they just don't know? I mean, what would you say to somebody? Because there's a lot of people out there, and they're watching this program now, I'm sure, saying they all going back, and we need to be focused on the here and now. Well,
okay, the here and now. What made our people great back then?
I would say knowing themselves.
Okay, now, if that is what made our people great back then, do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, and do you agree today in 2018 we don't know ourselves?
No doubt.
Because we still arguing as we Muslims or not, or as we from Kemet, or as we Moors, which means we don't know. Because we arguing. I ain't no more. I'm a Rasta. I'm a Hebrew Israelite. Which means you don't know. So we can't get all these Negroes in the room out there and put a gun in their head and say, shut up, you don't know. Except that you don't know. We wouldn't be debating if we knew. If it was clear we all Hebrew Israelites. 30 to 40 million people, we Hebrew Israelites. Or 30 to 40 million people, we're all Muslims. Or we all from Kemet. Or we all Moors. We can't even agree what we are, which means you do not know.
So the first step is almost like a Alcohol Anonymous program. You come in, my name is Hanifah and I am an alcoholic. So my name is Hanifah and I am ignorant of self. That's the first step.
Right.
It's owning that, and then we can start.
Right.
Okay.
I can't give you a drink of water if your cup is filled up already.
Okay. Or if you don't know you're thirsty.
Right, right. So this is what we are as black people in America and throughout the world. Is we know something is wrong. We know we are oppressed. We know that things. This is why Black Panther is affecting us in such a way.
Right.
Because we come from this nostalgia. We want to go back to when we was great. We want this.
But I think that going back is, I think a lot of times we're mistaken in thinking that going back is purely like a geographical move.
Right.
Purely physical.
Right.
But I think this Sankofa really takes place inside first.
Good teacher.
Right? And then some people actually go ahead and they make that move. And I don't know that all of us, Marcus Garvey is the perfect example. He talked about repatriation, right? He talked about going back. Did he go? No, he did not.
Right.
But he encouraged, and there were some people that went, that was a part of the Garvey movement, and some people that didn't.
Right.
I don't know that it's for all of us. My question then is this possible to tap into that greatness existing in the current oppressive society that we live in? Can we do that in the society that we're in?
Yes, our struggle is divine. Our liberation is divine. We are going to win. There's a force that's pushing us. We can't articulate it, we can't name it, but we can't pinpoint it, but it is real.
Yeah.
And so we are going to win. We are going to rise. We are going to be liberated. It is destined. Mm-hmm. And so we might go through the obstacles that we go through. One of the ironies that I like to point out is how Marcus Garvey died in Europe, and W.E.B. Du Bois died in Africa. And when you look at their ideologies in history, you was expected to be the other way around.
Interesting.
And so our struggle, we're going to get where we're supposed to be at, you know, because we are divine people. We just don't understand who we are. The things that made the people great back then still exist in us. The light just off. The light is there. You just got to cut the light on.
And I also, for me personally, what I've observed is that a lot of people, and I like that. I like the enthusiasm. I like we're anxious now. We're interested in the motherland. But some people, I think sometimes we're a little bit impulsive. We haven't studied enough. We just want to go and throw ourselves in there, and we're going to be in for a rude awakening because, like you said, it's a shift of thinking. You know, for example, you're going into a culture. You have no idea anything about this culture. You might be offended, or you might offend. You know, so it's important for us, of course, knowledge of self, but to also learn. You know, let's say you specifically want to go to Ghana. Learn. Modern day Ghana. Not just Ghana of the past.
That's right.
You know, so we have to study and we have to prepare our minds. And that's why I said the Sankofa is not just a physical thing.
Right.
That's right.
You know, it's a psychological thing. And I think a lot of us are not there. It rolls off our lips so easy because we think that's what we're supposed to say or supposed to want to do is go back to the motherland. But we haven't even gone back. We're still having an issue with people, continental Africans right here in America.
Right.
We don't like them, we can't get along with them, but
Right.
you're talking about going and living amongst
Right.
them. It makes no
Right.
sense, you know? So that's a big piece for me. It's like our greatness tapping into it, but it starts here.
Well, let me, before we
Sorry.
go any further, I wanted to jump in and share with the community what's going on here at Everlasting Life. We are located at 9185 Central Avenue in Capitol Heights, Maryland. Everlasting Life is one of 3 locations, the other 2 being Evolve Restaurant and Vigoritos, and they both can be found in the Tacoma Park section of Washington, D.C. So definitely patronize those restaurants. E-Life's Got Talent. We have a new event on the scene that myself is hosting each and every Wednesday starting in March. We were hoping to start the first week in March. Our dilemma has been getting talent to sign up. So if you have talent out there, we want to see you grace the stage. So definitely go on to eLife Talent under the Eventbrite page to gain further information on that. And that's any type of talent we're looking for here at Everlasting Life. Children's Night. Children eat free each and every Thursday night from 6 to 8 p.m. Our very own Chris Mary heads that event up. So the children 12 and under with a paid accompanied adult can eat some wholesome, healthy vegan food that's delicious. I don't ever see children come through here who don't like the food, who don't eat the food. So bring the children out and they have a good time with each other as well, doing different fun activities. Dinner and a movie. That takes place each and every Friday night right here at Everlasting Life from 7 to 9 p.m. This event is also free. So we air a different documentary information pertaining to things that you don't readily hear about out here in the mainstream. We do that deliberately and purposeful. So if you're wanting to gain more information similar to what we're talking about right here on the program, and you want to come out and bring a friend, bring a loved one, bring the children for our dinner and a movie night on Fridays. eLife Studios. If you see what we're doing here, Hanifah and I, and you think that you have a voice that needs to be heard, give us a call. We're looking for volunteers and hosts, marketing reps, producers, content creators, and the like, engineers. So right here at eLife Studios, our goal is to grow immensely in 2018, and we need your help to do just that. Black Wall Street Renaissance. It's another event I host myself that takes place the first Saturday of every month. We take the eating in area here and we transpose it into a shopping center. So you come, you shop with different local craft vendors, eat some great food, great music, and not only that, we head it up with a different lecture or event each and every month. So this first Saturday, March the 3rd, Brother Imhotep, back to you, will be joining us. If you're not familiar with his works, brothers out of Baltimore, awesome, dynamic. When I tell you, whenever he speaks, you know, he just moves the whole room. The whole room shakes, and I mean that. He's another one of the brothers that I'm close to, that I get a lot of my wisdom and knowledge and understanding directly from. And so he'll be here with us. That's Imhotep. The lecture starts at 3 p.m. and that event is always free to the public. Marketplace, another event here at Everlasting Life that's new on the scene. Every third Saturday of the month from 11 to 4 p.m. You can come here and grab fresh produce and your natural supplements, herbs, spices, vegan groceries, and things of that nature right here, again, from 11 to 4. And if you're out there and you have, you can service the community with any of these items, we want to hear from you. We want to pull you in to the marketplace specifically. All you healers out there, give us a call. Okay, and then just briefly, I just want to mention that there is a 10,000 Black Men's March coming up on April the 21st. Brother Malik Zulu Shabazz is heading that up right here in D.C., and there'll be a lot of speakers coming out for that event. Dr. Boyce Watkins, Professor James Smalls, Tony Browder, Dr. Cornel West, the daughter of Malcolm X, Shabazz, and a whole lot more. Public Enemy, Professor Griff. So again, that is Saturday. It's a week-long event from April the 18th to the 22nd, and the march itself takes place the 21st, that Saturday. So definitely go on to blackmensmovement.org to gain more information about that.
It's not just for men.
It's not just for men. Thank you. It's not just for men. So the ladies too, we have a lot that you can do for that as well. Yes. And if you're looking for vending opportunities, you can reach me for that event. Me, yours truly. I'm here 4 days a week. Malik's Fashions and Jewelry, all types of different accessories like what I'm wearing here. I made this piece myself. So yeah, I did. I like jewelry that make noise. Most people don't. But I do.
I like bracelets that make noise.
I do. But anyway, so if you want some fashionable jewelry at a very affordable price, culture pieces and rare eclectic pieces that are hard to find, catch me here at Everlasting Life Tuesdays through Friday, anytime after 2 p.m. until closing, which is 9. All right.
Oh, I made these.
Oh, Hanifah made her earrings. Yes, you want to talk about
of course. You can check my shop out at shopthingsforthejourney.com. That's shopthingsforthejourney.com. Right now it's just mainly earrings up, but I intend to, in the next couple of weeks, introduce a whole lot of new things. So there's a lot more coming to the store. So check it out. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. What, is anybody saying anything on the live?
No, ma'am. They are just listening. That's pretty much it. There was something I was going to say, but I wanted to kind of touch on what other names we wanted to throw out there to maybe touch on very quickly. I know you have Kwame Nkrumah, Winnie Mandela.
Winnie Mandela, another one of my sheroes. She's woo.
Winnie Mandela.
Winnie was no joke.
Did you read her book? Part of My Soul Went With Them?
No, not yet.
You gotta read that book.
Really?
Yeah, the police ran up in her house. And she broke the crack of her arm, then pulled the dress on top of them. I love Winnie Mandela.
This is an autobiography?
I don't know if it's an autobiography, but it's her book.
You said My Soul Went With Him.
Part of My Soul Went With Him.
Okay.
Yeah, she went hard. What's the story about the ANC when she was heading that up and it was a spy or something in the mix?
Oh,
and
she had a kid. We can't say that. I don't know nothing about that album. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm sorry. Well, that's
the white supremacist propaganda said that she had something to do with that, but she's the mother of the
With
nation.
the tire?
Yeah.
Stompy. Stompy was supposed to be a agent working with the white man, working in concert with white supremacy, and they found him. Somebody set him on fire.
Somebody.
I don't know who did it. Law wax.
Or who ordered it?
Oh my God.
Yeah, Winnie was no joke.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, she went hard. Who else I
You
have
have Robert Mugabe.
Oh man.
Love Robert Mugabe. I love Robert Sobukwe. Y'all know about Robert Sobukwe?
No.
Robert Sobukwe was the head of the Pan-African Congress. Because you made me think about it when you said the ANC. You had the African Nationalist Congress with Chief Luthuli, and they was the South African version of the NAACP. And then you had Robert Sobukwe with the Young Lions with the Pan-African Congresses. Say one settler, one bullet. Ain't no voting. You got no voting here. And so Robert Sobukwe, the Pan-African Congress, I just wanted to mention his name since you said the ANC. I wanted to bring some balance to the conversation.
What do you think about Robert Mugabe?
I love Robert Mugabe, and I'm so hurt that black people, we get frustrated with our leadership that stand for us. And then we got Uncle Tom leadership, we give them the benefit of the doubt. We gave Barack Obama 8 years, he gonna change. The last 4 years, he gonna change, he gonna get it right. When we got Uncle Tom leadership, we always give him the benefit of the doubt. But we got strong, militant, uncompromising leadership, we always undermine.
Why is that?
Self-hatred. See, at the end of the day, it goes back to what we were talking about at first. Self-hatred. The black man that does not know himself does not know his self-interest, so he works against himself. See, we arguing right now in our community. I'm talking about the conscious community. We are arguing right now. If you look at all of the people in the conscious community, you can run the list. I'm not going to call nobody's name, but if you run the list, all of them believe in the same thing. All of them profess to want the same goal. But you know what they beefing over? Who gonna be the one up front? So this is ego. This is a part of self-hatred. You know, this is a part of white supremacy. This is what white supremacy has done to us. That now our masculinity is defined by who we attack.
Wow.
So it's like in the hip hop community, 50 Cent that came on, he made a song How to Rob. So he came up off of talking about he was gonna rob all of the known rappers. Before 50 Cent became known, that was his first CD, How to Rob. And so he came up off of attacking Jay-Z, all the other rappers. And so in the conscious community, that's what we do. So Minister Farrakhan, you want to attack him, he's like the Jay-Z of the game. So you want to attack Jay-Z. Who is this attacking Jay-Z? But Jay-Z ain't going to respond because he's too big for that. But Jay-Z got some homies that will respond. See, but it's gang banging, but it's based upon self-hatred, but you're going to use a noble aspiration. I'm standing up for our people, and I'm just going against people who compromise. You're a liar. You're just against unity, and you're divisive, and you functioning from self-hatred. I ain't going to say no names, just you can take that template and apply it to everybody.
Wow. Okay. I also have on my list Haile Selassie. We touched on him.
Emperor of Ethiopia.
Did you want to share anything?
Well, I don't have a favorable view of Haile Selassie.
Why?
Well, as a student of history, when Haile Selassie got in some trouble with the Italians, he went to the Queen of England. And I have a problem with Haile Selassie and his racial politics. You know, we come from a premise of, as black people, as I said earlier, we actually are the people who, Dr. John McClark said, we out-pope the Pope and out-Muhammad. We are the only people that really turned the other cheek. You can't show me no other people in the history of the world that really turned the other cheek.
And how does that benefit us?
It doesn't. So my point is, as black people, we always trying to make excuses. It might be 99 bad white people.
Right.
And we're going to change the narrative for that one white person that we consider as good. We can't throw him out. What about him? Let him argue his own argument. Shut your black mouth. Let him argue for himself.
But isn't that part of that, is that just our goodness, our innate
But that's working against us.
Yeah, but it's also our nature. So that's what I asked in the beginning. If it's still our nature, Because you're asking the people to change their nature. What? What are the steps in doing that? You're actually asking them to become their enemy in order to defeat their enemy. Right? That's what we're saying, because if we're saying this is our nature, goodness, and us being a spiritual people, because technically this is why we are just so extreme when it comes to religion and stuff. I think we're just naturally a spiritual people. That's just,
okay.
I wasn't finished.
Go ahead. You not finished?
No, I wasn't.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, when you said that, my question, then that's why I asked the question. What are the steps in changing that? Because when we say we're asking, is that our nature? We're saying yes, but you're also saying it's working against us. And so my question for the people that's listening, how do we go about changing that? And is it a good idea to completely change that? Or is there a balance that we're missing? Because I believe there's a time to pick up the weapon and a time to pick up prayer beads. I believe in that balance.
Right.
I agree with that.
That's what I
think we just lean too much on one side.
I absolutely agree with that. I absolutely agree with that.
That's the scripture says that. There's a time for war.
Yeah.
And there's a time for peace.
Okay, so
we always want peace though.
Yeah. So but we want to bring the white man. If the white man can't go to heaven, we don't want to go. I just can't believe that God, see, but we'll never use this logic when it comes to the white man. The white man say that the white Jew, the white so-called cracker Jew, say they're the chosen people of God. You ain't got one of these Negroes that challenge them on that. But when we say we the chosen people, I just can't believe no God that's going to just pick black people and then you start to make mockery of it.
Like the Hebrew Israelites, when they talk about like where the original Hebrews, you see the mockery comes, and I'm like, why don't you just look into it and see where they're coming from?
But when the white Jews say that, you never challenge them. You never challenge them.
They're imposters.
I think that's how little we feel about ourselves, though.
But that's a lack of knowledge of self, though. Yeah. Because if you understand that, these Ashkenazi Jews, they're imposters. We know the history, we understand that. But a lot of times we just don't know. I mean, truthfully, we don't know.
Right. And my theory is, I think what's hurting us, because like you said, it's innate, it's our nature to be goodness. But what we do is we catapult and uphold people who aren't warriors. And within us, so who aren't the warrior creed. And so we're afraid of people like Minister Farrakhan, that is uncompromising. And, we refuse to back down and bow down. And so we don't want no parts of that type of leadership. But we'll raise up a Barack Obama.
But you see what Edward talked about with the leadership in the conscious community right now? I always go back to, we have to think of the body, okay? Every part of our body has a function, all right? There are going to be those that will be the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the ears. Those parts of the body that are seen. Right. Automatically. But then there are those very important, very significant parts, the lungs, the heart, the liver, that has an important part to play too. I think what we miss is that we don't understand lanes and roles. Everyone is not a warrior.
I agree.
Some people are teachers, some people are just intellectuals.
But my point
some people,
is, in the time of war, we want somebody submissive.
No.
So, you know what I'm saying? We prefer to have somebody submissive.
Biblical Israel didn't even do that. They had their musicians that went out. Then they had their army. Like, our people didn't do that. You had people that went out with drums before they started war. I mean, there's a part for everyone to play.
Right, no
doubt.
doubt.
But I think we miss that where it comes down. It comes down to what I want to be in the front. I want to be the face of it.
Yeah.
And that's what the whole fight is about. Yeah. But you know what? When you listen to the country, I hate that world leaders, like in that sense, but when you look at the conscious community, you can see all of them. You can see, he's good at that.
Right.
And he's good at that.
Right.
And it's like,
if only they would all come together.
Yeah. And be great. And be great.
Right.
So that's the struggle. Is people not accepting their lane and their roles.
And we still suffer from self-hatred. Just because you read Carter G. Bush and the miseducation of the Negro, that boom, now you're not a Negro no more. It's a process, and so
it is. So you say even those up front,
right? And so we got to always
self-hate.
Right. We got to constantly renew ourselves. We got to constantly renew our ethics. Could I have said that a better way? Could I have done that a better way?
Yes.
Did that divide our community? Was that the best of? Did I give the best of myself to the movement? Because when we say for our people, we give ourselves to the movement. Right. You can't be your own person and you say you for the movement.
No doubt.
So when you give yourself to the movement, you got to give yourself. You got to give the people the best of yourself.
As a servant. Okay, family. We have went over time. This was juicy, and we could go a whole nother hour.
The Empower
The
Hour.
Empower After Hour. If you guys want us to hang on, we can do a little bit of Empower After Hour. But that is our programming here at eLife Studios. Catch us, join our, if you like what you've heard, and if anything resonated with you, we need you to share this content. Hit the share button. You never know who's out there who needs this
Oh,
information.
can I say something for you more? Go to www.noi.org and watch the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan save his day address.
Yeah, this past Saturday. Yes, check it out. Okay, until next week, we'll catch you at this same place, different topic. Peace.
Peace.
All right, y'all can talk.
Okay.
Yes, what was he saying? He said something and then it cut off. It was
Oh,
just getting
man.
real sweet.
Okay,
Okay, but
so I still have live going.
Yes, you do.
So, let me see. Hey, Wasita, what's going on? Let me see what your family's talking.
Wasita at?
Yeah, I know, right?
Tell Wasita she's one of my favorite black women in
He's
the
on
world.
here.
She's on here.
Can she hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Let me
she
ring
can.
this
You are
phone.
one of my favorite black women in the whole world.
Wow, Wasita, dang. You got it going on, sister.
You know when they point two fingers, it's for real.
We are fearful. We are fearful to be authentically black. Wasita say. Y'all hear that?
That's right.
We are fearful. Yeah, yeah. But where does that come from, though? Well, I guess we just went into that, though, to being authentically black. I wish Wasita was here so she could break that down for us.
You see our hair look alike?
Yeah.
Edward, you are way more bald than I am.
Any questions, family? You guys were just listening in.
She says, love you, Edward.
Likewise, love you too. Love you more.
Yeah. Thank you, Dwayne. Appreciate Sean, Afropreneur, Viviani.
I wish we had asked you guys. I wish we had asked you guys who your favorite black heroes are.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to kind of throw those out there.
Yeah.
I tend to like the fierce woman though.
I know.
I know.
Yeah, that's your thing. Ladies are like your Hanifah's thing, no doubt. Mine's too, but Hanifah go hard for the ladies. Power to the ladies. Black power.
Okay,
and you
Black
want to
power.
share anything? Anything other?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We trying to organize. We need all the people in DC. Inbox Alqamar. We trying to organize and clean our community up. The things that need to be done, we can do it. We can keep waiting on somebody else to do it. You do it.
Yeah.
Why Farrakhan ain't do this? Why you ain't do it?
Good teaching, brother. Good teaching. Why do you? Well, I know you touched on this, but why do you think that Minister Farrakhan, although he gets a lot of love, I think he gets a lot more love than he gets pushback. But why do you think that so many people give him so much pushback in our community when all he's doing?
Jealousy, envy, and jealousy.
It's
Our people are
working.
drunk off that old liquor, E&J, envy and jealousy. We jealous of Minister Farrakhan. Because the people who hate on him the most are the same. If you ask them point for point, they believe in what they saying that they're against.
I think they don't watch him or study him, and they don't even know what he's for, because it's like, how do you fight for injustice, and here's this man doing the same thing, but you hate him for that, or you hate him, period. It's like, so how do you really even know what he's doing? Because a lot of his pushback, I find, come from people who don't even watch what, his moves.
Let me give you this biggest contradiction right here. Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. If you look in the RBG movement, the Black National community, I follow him and honor him, right? But that's Minister Farrakhan's student. That's everything that he stands on that you love. He was taught that by Minister Farrakhan.
Who?
Dr. Khalid.
Okay.
So how can you love Dr. Khalid, who was Farrakhan's national assistant, national spokesperson? It's a contradiction.
Same with Malcolm X.
Right, and if you love Dr. Khalid, like you say, why you wasn't in the new Black Panther Party? Because you a liar. Because you just want to have somebody that's dead. Because the dead man can't hold you responsible for nothing.
And same Malcolm, we hold Malcolm in high regard,
Yeah.
but not understanding that he got all his teaching from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So how can you negate the teacher but embrace the student?
Because Elijah told you to stand up and do something for yourself, and you don't want to do that.
But can't we also just maybe certain speakers resonate with us more than others, even though they're teaching the same. Because you see that in churches too, where
No, I
someone
mean to
would
go
say,
against though.
No, that's what I was gonna say. I was getting to that. But
Oh,
you say in
sorry.
churches where some people say, I rather hear this minister than the other one, and most people say, well, they're both preaching from the Bible. Maybe it's their delivery, maybe, you know, but it becomes an issue when you start to bash.
Right.
You know, that's when it becomes an issue for me. You can say, I would rather go and listen to Khalid Muhammad than Farrakhan.
No doubt.
But then to do the comparison, we have this thing where we have to put people, we have to put our own against each other.
Right.
You know, this one versus this one. We always have to compare, and it's not even necessary.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you go against the minister, I'm going against you. For the record, if you go against the minister, I'm going like a remote control robot. I'm gonna give you some negativity.
Give me some negative. I don't want it.
I'm talking about the people right now. Give it to them.
They don't want it
You
either.
gotta give it to them. You know, Farrakhan got y'all doing this, got y'all doing that. Farrakhan got y'all selling bean pies. Farrakhan. If you attack Minister Farrakhan, you can be like, Farrakhan got that bald head Negro going in because I'm going at you. If you say something against the minister, I'm going straight at you. I don't care who you are. I'm going straight at you like a robot. I'm going straight at you.
Well, touch on that. You know, when people who say that, oh, they ain't doing nothing. They ain't doing nothing but talking, and they ain't doing out there selling bean pies and papers. What y'all doing for the people? What y'all? There's people out here that really believe that in the core of their being.
Negro don't want no freedom. They just want something free.
I think we don't even research enough. We don't even know enough before we speak on stuff. We might just hear something from someone that we like, and we run with it. But you haven't done your own research to
If
come
you
to
don't
your own
attack the minister,
conclusion.
we cool. It's love, brotherhood, sisterhood. We family.
I think it's called groupthink. Groupthink. So if somebody in your core group that you respect and admire say a certain thing, like you said, you instead of going and being critical and thinking critically about the information, you run with it because if somebody that you admire said it, and it becomes a group thought. So it's not your personal thought anymore. It becomes a thought of the group, and whether it be right or wrong, you just gonna run with that information. So, and
For me, just from personal experience, I feel like a lot of us are not really in tune with, again, self, and we don't know self. And I feel like once you get there and you're on that journey and you're learning of self and you're becoming in tune with self, like it's not necessarily, it's hard to really get on the whole fan base thing because a lot of us are just fans oftentimes. And you know how fans are. You have the Beehive, for example, Beyonce. They'll go at you. You can't say nothing wrong about Beyonce.
Right.
And I think that can be dangerous at time because if a leader is doing something wrong, they should be held accountable. I don't care who they are.
Right.
But oftentimes we get caught up in this whole fan base type of thinking.
Right.
You know, and that can be to our own detriment sometimes because we saw that with the whole Umar thing, you know?
right.
Yeah.
Leadership. So, and I hear this a lot where people say, I'm my own leader. I don't need no leader. Lead yourself. What's your thoughts on that, Brother Ed? And then we're going to let the people go.
I am a leader. I know I'm a leader. I'm not in denial of my leadership skills and abilities, but I am a member of an organization of which I am not the leader. So my ego ain't that big where they're blind me that I don't see my lane to get in where I fit in. That me getting in the organization where somebody else is in leadership doesn't invalidate my leadership. In fact, it says something about my leadership that I recognize myself as a part of a body and the cause is bigger than myself.
And if we were all our own leaders, but we in this predicament, you know what I'm saying? So who?
You're a leader with no followers. You're a reverend with no church. You're a general with no army. Come on, man. How you a leader? You ain't got no
The
followers.
leadership thing and the way that we view leadership, I think it's a little warped. It's just me.
Yeah, I just
And it's
get
across the board. It's black people, period. Like our people, especially in religious organization, like there's this whole blind following that happens that it's not good. I don't care how you fix it, how you dress it up. It's just not good.
What do you mean by blind following though?
Blind following because you're caught up with the person's aura, whatever it is, their energy, their charisma, whatever it is that they're bringing. You like their style of teaching, so you get really caught up. You fall in love with the person. And so we start to justify certain behaviors, certain things that are detrimental to us. Now you have to know where to draw the line. And again, that comes from knowing truth within yourself, because you'll be able to see a lie. I don't care whose mouth it's coming from. And oftentimes we ignore those alerts within ourselves simply because of who the person is. Sometimes they're more educated than us. They, they're more knowledgeable than us. They have more money than us. They have more accolades. They have the degree, the credentials, and so we ignore our own alert within ourselves, saying something isn't right here, and we got to be careful with that. I've seen that over and over and over again.
Now, what about those who say I'm my own? Those who say though, but I'm my own leader. I don't need nobody leading me, but their life is in shambles.
Then their life is in shambles because they're truly not leading themselves. Because for example, there's a lot of people who acknowledge a God outside of themselves. Their life is in shambles. You know what I mean? It's them. Their life is in shambles because of them. That's how I see it. Not because they don't have some specific leader. It's because they refuse to lead themselves. When they say I'm like my own leader, they're not even leading themselves. They're not even operating in their godship. You know what I mean?
Now, what about those individuals who life were in shambles but came across somebody who helped them to get it back in order?
More power to you. More power to you. And usually those are the ones I'm talking about, where that person can fall off the rail, and they'll follow them off the rail because of where that person have helped them out of. So that's what I'm saying, to where while you're on that journey, there's a journey of self that's important too.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's how come you have, what's that guy named, the Jim Jones of this world that can, that can do those things. You know what I mean? Because so that's where I draw the line. And maybe this is me speaking coming from kind of like a legalistic environment, a couple of legalistic environments, and I've seen it over. It never fails. I see it in the conscious community where people latch on to their favorite person. You know what I mean? And they can do no wrong.
But I'm wondering how, if that's so bad, if there's always been leaders throughout history.
And that's okay.
There's always been people who other people follow. But
the people who don't acknowledge them and saying, I don't necessarily have a leader, and that doesn't make them bad people. It just is what it is. So there are those who, because here's the thing. Here's what I learned from being in church. There are people who need to be in church Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. It is an absolute necessity. There are people who start off needing it, and then they grow.
Like a drug addict who need alcohol anonymous
and that's okay. And then you might have those who go down to, well, I'm only going to go Sunday now because they've grown.
Right.
The goal here is to grow.
Right.
Is to grow. What happens when someone grows and says, I no longer need this crutch anymore to walk? I can walk on my own.
Right.
That doesn't make them a bad person. We should celebrate that.
Right.
But I'm not talking about the people whose life is in shambles.
Right. And so but I think that's what, because if we are in it as a whole, and we can't, we're not a monolith. So as a whole, in this society right now, our situation is not good. If we're being honest with ourselves.
Of course. And that's why it's hard to get us under one person.
So if everybody is saying, I'm my own leader, I'm just going to do me, I'm going to do da-da-da, and we already see where that frame of mind and thought has gotten us, and we just look around and see, it's just the evidence is here, then why would we continue to keep going down that route?
It's not going to happen. The black people coming under one leader is not going to happen. My issue it's not.
That's a silly thing to even think.
Exactly, but respect.
Right.
We have to have some sort of code of conduct, and we don't have it.
Right.
Whereby there's a leader over there across the street, and you're like, okay, I'm from Southeast, and this person is from Northwest. You know what I mean?
Right.
At the end of the day, we want to see DC develop. We want to see DC flourish. That's the end goal.
Right.
Not, those people from Southeast ain't jack. Or those people from Northwest, they're too bougie. Whatever it is, we need to get out of that. It's respect. It's like we have no code of conduct. We're fighting each other all the time.
And I think a lot of it is that we need help, but we don't know how to ask for, or we refuse to even see that we need the help.
My thing is, if you need a leader, find one. Sit under them. Learn. If that's what you need, do that. Don't be in self-denial and be like, well, I don't need this. And look at your own life.
Right.
And look at how your life is ordered. If you find that you need help, then go get help. If that means being committing to a certain organization until you grow to where you can walk on your own, then do that.
Right.
But a part of it is self-denial, and we have to again, we don't know self.
Right.
And when we talk about no self, it's not just the greatness of self. It's also those areas, those dark, those weakness, that we have within ourselves, where you can look at a situation and say, I would not subject myself to this, because if I do, I know this is going to happen. That's a part of self-knowledge.
Right. Right. Yeah. So, okay. So Genesis said, I don't know who's too damn emotional.
I think he was talking about the all the leaders, we were talking about the conscious community.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. We are. We ride on emotionalism as opposed to logic.
That's part of our thing, Edward. As black people, aren't we a low to emotion?
Oh.
We really are. I feel so. We enter everything just up here with emotion.
I agree.
First, we lead with that.
A brother asked me on Facebook, he said, and I hate this, I love to debate, for the record. I love to debate.
It's another thing we run from, but go ahead.
But I hate emotional debates. And I hate you asking me a question, challenging me from a premise of ignorance. Like a brother asked me yesterday on Facebook, what does the word al mean in Arabic? So I said, it's a definite article. So he said, but that's not good enough. You got to be more descriptive, So I said, do you know Arabic? No. Man, get the hell off my page. You try to act like you come from a premise of a level of expertise when you don't, and I don't tolerate that. I don't deal with people to let you walk away from a conversation with me feeling that you're in the know. You're not. You are deaf, dumb, and blind. You don't have knowledge yourself. And I'm going to point that mirror and show you that mirror that you don't have knowledge yourself. I'm not going to allow nobody to feel like they got equal footing in the argument and you haven't even studied.
Well, could that be because the whole ego thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Could that be because we so used to not having anything of substance to be proud of and things, and
we
so
have plenty.
So I'm talking about how they feel.
Oh, okay.
How people may feel, and that's why they will do things like that. They'll come on and they'll fight battles where they not really understand about, or they'll drive flashy cars and they'll look at me.
Yeah, people. You can have a conversation. Me and you can have a conversation. We could be building. Me, you, and Hanifah, we building. We talking about Africa. We talking about where Africa should go. What type of political perspective Africa's gonna have, what type of economy Africa's gonna have. We could be building, we're just going back and forth. And somebody come right there and observe us, but all the time they functioning from a premise that they are the Messiah, and they can't wait to get the mic, and then they're gonna show us. Them three Negroes don't know nothing. I'm gonna show y'all the truth, the right way. You got people that actually function like that in our community.
Pontificating. That we do a lot of pontificating in our gatherings. Everyone is trying to show how smart they are.
Nobody
and no
wants
solutions
to learn.
is coming out of it a lot of times. Yeah.
Right. That's my point. It's like if you look around and see that our situation is dire, you know what I'm saying? But you keep on, you know what I'm saying, pontificating. When do you stop and say, well, wait a minute, I need to learn something here? Or it's always a point finger out. Y'all need to do this. You ain't see what you doing is this. You ain't doing this right. Da da da.
You gotta know your strengths. You gotta know your strengths.
It's never a self-analyzation in the process.
When a conversation is being had, like there are parts that I know that I'm strong in, and then there are others that I just listen because I'm just like, I'm not well versed in that. I'm just gonna get as much as I need to get and ask as much questions as I need to ask, or not ask any questions at all. Just kind of take it in. So you kind of have to know, like again, that's knowing your lane. You know what I mean? In a conversation, like because there are conversations I'm in where I could realize like there is no balance here, and I feel like that's often the position that I take. Yeah. Because we tend to lean a little bit too far on one end. So.
And I see that a lot where I can just ask one question, one simple basic question, and online, say for instance, and if I get 25 people to respond, it'd be 25 different answers. It's like, but nobody will come on and say, I don't know the answer to that. It's like, why are we so afraid of that word, those three words?
Well, I think the people who don't know don't comment.
Right.
I think that's how that goes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's again going to the point. Yeah. It's like you want to pontificate, but somebody has said something interesting about that recently. They were like, well, isn't that part of learning though? Isn't that part of what people do? They come and they're expressive.
No. No. No, don't do that, Alqamar.
What?
Because you will make people think that that's cool. No, when you're a student and you learn, you shut up, you be quiet. You come as a student to be taught.
I didn't say I was agreeing with that. I'm just saying somebody brought up that.
Listen. The first lesson I learned in prison, an old timer told me, you know why you got 2 ears and 1 mouth? So you can listen twice as much as you talk. That was the first lesson I learned.
So we got to learn to be more humble.
No, be quiet.
Quiet and humble are 2 different things.
Be quiet. Learn.
Yeah.
And
be okay with that.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying, because, I'm always in the root of what we do. So I'm like, you know what I'm saying? People will hear this and be like, you know what I'm saying, whatever, but they don't understand why they do it. Why do they do it?
Because they only do it with blacks. Self-hatred. You only challenge black teachers. If a cracker come in front of you, you ain't gonna say nothing. You gonna be quiet. If I was teaching Arabic as an Arabic instructor, a Negro that don't know no Arabic. Well, what about this? Well, what about, why are you so challenging? Be quiet, learn, shut up, take notes. It's okay.
But does that really go back to hating yourself, though?
Yes. Because you're challenging me because I'm black.
And you wouldn't challenge.
You wouldn't challenge a white person. You wouldn't challenge another person. We function. We function from self-hatred. When the white police pull you over, you expect them to be, when the black police come, you ain't got no respect. Oh, nigga, you know how you function. And if you can call them Uncle Tom off the top, right? Self-hatred.
Like that movie, What the Hell, the documentary that came out, that was already been given to us in
Urban Kryptonite.
Urban Kryptonite.
I think that had more with the way it was pushed, though.
It was portrayed and pushed.
I think it was the push.
But even today, I think a lot of us will tune in more so to What the Health, which was some great information. So if you had 2 equal playing field, both of them, you know what I'm saying, What the Hell, Urban Kryptonite, in front of black people, which one they gonna go toward?
But even amongst ourselves, outside of the white man, amongst ourselves, we do that with people with credentials.
Why y'all still recording?
It's
We're
the
talking
Power
about
After
conversation.
You got
You in a rush? You hungry? What?
You need to go? You thirsty?
No.
What?
No, I okay.
Yeah, we was just talking about Empower After Hours. We
They
were
still
hoping some
asking
folks would
questions?
join the conversation.
Yeah,
Hey, Glenn.
But
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
All right. Well, we out of here until next week. Next week we'll have politician Jonathan, right? And then next week,
Yes.
Jonathan
They'll
Medlock,
be
my
doing
brother.
the DNA test too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what next week's
Yeah, I do
topic.
want some food.
So next week, tune in because they're going to be exposing on air where Jonathan Medlock, he is our county commissioner. Isn't that his title?
Yes.
County commissioner here in Prince George's. He'll be on with us, and he's also tracing his roots. And they're going to reveal African ancestry is going to reveal to him on air where he's from. So you want to catch that program next week.
Genesis was saying what I was telling you with What the Health.
Yeah.
It was on Netflix.
Right.
Urban Kryptonite wasn't. I was saying the exposure that it got.
Right.
It got way more than Urban Kryptonite. So I could see why.
Yeah,
It was on bigger platforms, I think.
Yeah.
That was just my
Well, maybe that wasn't a good example, but I still believe that we will hone in a lot of times more so
White
on
ice
what,
is colder.
right,
Yeah.
right.
I get
on
what you're saying.
The Europeans say versus your own brother. You'll take his word as law.
Because he God.
Oh, touch on that real quick.
White man.
Come in, touch on that real quick. Stop walking with you. Say something impactful and way across the room. Come tell the people. Come here, brother Edward X. What you say? You said we do that because the white man's ice is colder than the black man's ice. Same ice.
We are in the now, and at if we ever to move forward progressively, we have to acknowledge the truth. We are scared of white folk.
I used to be, but go ahead.
We're afraid of white folk.
Wow.
We are ignorant. We don't know our own self-interest. We spend $1.1 trillion annually. If we were to unify that money, we would be the 9th richest nation on the earth. But we can't even get the people in just the conscious community alone. We ain't even talking about Negroes. We ain't even talking about those who are not in the know. We're just talking about those who are aware, the conscious people, those who are woke. You can't even get those people to participate in nothing that was in the best interest of us as a people. And they got all the books. They got all the DVDs. They done seen everything. They've been all, they know it all. But you can't even get those people to unify.
Why, Glenn? Because I used to see them in a level, a position of authority, and before I understood who I was, and I used to see, you know, I remember one time walking into I'll give you a good example, downtown DC. My brother invited me out one night to some event, and I didn't know where. It was a fashion show one of his friends were putting on downtown DC. And I didn't, this was years ago, and I didn't know exactly where I was going, was never been there before, and so I was going off in an address. And so when I walked into this building, and it was nothing but white people in there, and packed. It was an art show or something, art on the wall or whatever. And the way I felt when I walked in there, I felt very uneasy and fear. Yeah. And I thought this was where my brother was, so I'm walking around the whole building looking for my brother, and I don't see nothing but white people. They looking at me, I'm looking at them, and I happen to look on the walls, right? And I was, what the fuck? Every picture on the wall was like gruesome. People dead and blood out, gushing out of somebody's head, and another, you know what I'm saying? It's just all gruesome pictures anyway. But I left there and found out, I called my brother, he was like, no, we next door. So when I got in there, it was all black people, and I felt better. And so that scenario never left me. I was like, wow, if that happened today, oh shit. You know what I'm saying?
You can't cuss on.
Oh, excuse me. Shoot.
The Empower Hour after hour.
I know me.
Where
all
the
people,
cursing
right?
goes down.
Yeah. So if that same scenario would have took place today, oh, you know, I know who I am. So
Right.
it's like, oh, y'all better, you know what I'm
Right.
saying, move out my way
Right.
type scenario. But at that point, it wasn't that way for me. Yeah. So yeah. So
It's
that.
time to go live. We were going to sneak.
Okay, so that is the benefit and the power of knowing yourself. Glenn say, thank you, Glenn, but that's still not good. I won't say that again. All right, family, we'll see y'all next week. We hope you enjoyed the conversation, and until next time. All right, take care. Peace.
So what they got?